Hello, everyone. It's Wow Ergonomics. It's that time again, Stephen. Look, we're on time
12
again.
midday.
12 o'clock midday. Our favourite
Tuesday
time
this
of
week.
the day.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Why did we go for a Tuesday this week?
Well, because I was supposed to be out tomorrow in Edinburgh,
Oh, right.
but that got cancelled. So actually, we could have done it
Oh.
at the normal time. So yeah, a week of cancellations this week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was supposed to be out, all gone.
Is that something that's happening more often at the moment? There's a lot more cases.
Yeah,
I've heard
had
in
one
the
or
last
two.
week or so of COVID.
Yeah, one or two people who I'm due to see and normally would be able to see have said no, the business has pushed back and said, can you do it on Teams? So I've seen a little bit of it. I wouldn't say it's absolutely everything, but I think certainly businesses are looking at it and going, if we're expecting our people to work from home, are we really going to ask them to go in for that? And I think there's a slight reluctance. So a bit of a shame, but it's being sort of wrapped up in a big Zoom call on Friday. So that'll be good fun. But I do think, especially with what we do, you do need to get the product in front of people. You need to get people. It's the old touch and feel, isn't it? What understand the product, see it demonstrating. Some things just don't translate as well as Teams. So a little bit disappointed. But interestingly, or not interestingly, I couldn't get a flight from Birmingham or East Midlands up to Edinburgh tomorrow. Because obviously there's less flights going on and less demand. There were flights on Tuesday and Thursday, but there was nothing on Wednesday. So, and I've noticed this a couple of times when I've looked at flights, is that, clearly they're running the flights instead of daily or multiple times daily, actually every other day. So it sort of did me a favour because I didn't really fancy a 6-hour drive there and a 6-hour drive back. So and of course, done me a favour, really.
Right at the beginning of the pandemic, we lost a whole airline down here.
Yeah, well, the same for you and me, because you've got Flybe down by you in Exeter. I used Flybe quite a lot from Birmingham. So yeah, there's that on top. That there's still a bit of a vacuum with a loss of a major regional airline.
There we go. Right, folks, we are going to play the game again. The game you've all loved and waited for. It's Stephen's favourite part of the week, which is to find out whether he knows anything at all about the products that he sells from the perspective of the back at Elkhuizen website. So we're going to bring in our guest today, and I've got a splendid guest for us today. Let's welcome Brett. Hello, Brett. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, gentlemen. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you both? You all right?
Yeah, that's good. We're fine, thank you. I love the blood, sweat, and tears and an array of medals in the background. Do you want to tell us quickly about that?
Well, yeah. This is a selection of some of the daft challenges I've done throughout my career, trying to raise funds for various charities. Climbed Mount Fuji, done shark dives, done all that sort of stuff. Some challenge events, all that kind of thing. Yeah, to raise money for children's charities and mental health organisations as well. So. There's the medals may be there, but the blood, sweat, and tears are all over the floor and across the country. So
well, I mean, normally when you ask people that, and I'm not decrying that it's the effort that some people put in, but it's normally sort of a half marathon or something like that. But shark swimming.
Yeah, I've done the half marathons, and as you rightly say, I think a challenge is something that is difficult for the individual, right? So whatever that may be. When I was in the forces, we did Mount Fuji to raise money for veterans organisations. Then I did a couple of shark dives, those types of things. I've tried to vary it up to make it more challenging to me personally. Things that I don't. I find harder or find a bit more difficult to do, such as getting in the water with sharks, which it was definitely a big challenge for me. But
see, I wouldn't struggle with that. But Stephen, what would you struggle with?
Oh, having once done a half marathon, I'd struggle to do a half marathon again. That was painful. That was really painful.
But is there a phobia or anything?
I can do. I'm not. Let's just say I'm not exactly built for running, so I can do 5K. I can do 10K, what's 10K? It's about 6 and a bit miles, isn't it? It was just that little bit too far. I think I did it once. I did it at Silverstone racetrack. And that was really interesting. You started in the pit lane and you finished in the pit lane and all that sort of stuff. I think it was when I got to about 10 miles, and I'd not done that before, where you started seeing people with St. John's ambulances wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, this is they look far better than me and they're struggling. So I think it was a case of, I've done it once, I won't be doing it again. So I think that long run, and I think it's the training you have to do. If you're not a natural runner, to build up to that sort of distance, you can build it to a 5K quite easy. And you know this, Graham, from your sort of running exploits. It's that where you've just got to go that little bit further. It's just a little bit. I'm not sure I can. I'm just not sure I can push myself.
Stitch comes in.
I mean, think running's hard. I more in not in a physical sense, but in a mental health challenge sense for me. To keep going, as you say, Steve, sort of breaking those barriers. I find that really difficult. My mind wanders when I'm running, so I find that quite tough to maintain. So that's a bit of a challenge for me also, to be fair.
For me, it would be anything with heights. Anything with heights. Absolutely. I mean, do you ever watch that program with Bradley Walsh and his son?
No.
Called Breaking Dad.
Yes.
I mean, I have every sympathy with Bradley, because his son doesn't mind heights at all. And he gets him to do some of these. He's got him to do like bungee jumping off of buildings and stuff like that. And you just think, oh my word. That's just, there is no way in the world. Once a friend of mine, we were doing a radio program. It was live, it was outside, it was at a festival. And at this festival, they had a very tall abseiling wall. And he said, he thought this was hilarious. He said, look, you've got to go and do an interview with this person. And he was back in the caravan that we were broadcasting from, and I had an OB kit with me, which back in the day was huge. It was a massive, great pack like this with a microphone, etc. So I went off, ran across fields to find this person, and they said, "Oh, he's up there." So I ended up, I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't processed it really. I just thought, I've got to do this interview. So I ended up, I climbed all the ladders, and then I got to the top and I thought, how am I going to get down? There's no way I'm going back down those ladders, etc. And then Simon, my friend, got me to pass the equipment to headphones and it all to the guy at the top. And he was saying live on air, do not let him down. The easy way, he's got to abseil. And he's got to interview you halfway down. And they made me do it. And I've never been so terrified in my life. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad, So that's the kind of thing, isn't it, Brett?
Yeah. Absolutely. Therein lies the challenge, right? Challenge is what's difficult for you or something you wouldn't normally take on. And, it's different for absolutely everyone, isn't it? It's just, I guess it's where those boundaries lie for each person. And can you or are you willing to kind of push yourself just a little bit further? And it's all in good causes, it's always to raise money for needy organizations, charities that need the support. So yeah, I guess fun and games at the time, but I'm as you can tell with the whitening beard, I'm getting a little bit old for jumping out of things or climbing mountains and that kind of thing now. So I'm ready to just take it easy.
Well, you say that. And we're gonna come back and talk to you in a little bit about what it is that you do, right?
Cool.
But we have a challenge for you today.
Okay.
Right. And it hopefully won't be as painful as some of those things that you've done, but we would like you to play a little game with us. Now, this is probably more of a challenge for Stephen than it is for you.
I was going to say it's going to be painful for somebody. This is
okay.
Me.
We started it last week. If hopefully you've got a smartphone with you. Do you have a smartphone?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Right. So what I'm going to do in a minute, and if you are watching this and you want to play at home, as it were, if you're watching this on Twitter or YouTube or LinkedIn, you can join in.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is join in by putting the code in that you'll see on the screen. I forgot to do the name thing, but don't
I was going to say the name thing. Can we?
I don't know. I don't know whether I can whiz this at the last minute to do this, but I'll sort that out for next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, that my bad.
Because what we have said is that if we get lots of people joining in, there will be a prize, won't there?
There will be
if we can get the name working.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Let me see. Let me see if I
talk
can
amongst
do this.
yourselves.
Well, you talk to. I'll tell you what. You talk to Brett for a minute about what he does.
Yeah.
Whilst I see if I can sort this out. Go for it,
Brett. What do you do?
Well, so we are a mental health. Well, there's two sides to we have two different businesses. We are a mental health workplace solutions business, which is OSI, which is the consultancy side. So we work with organizations to identify root causes of mental health distress within the workplace and help them to navigate by prevention or reduction of the types of harm that can create accidents, illness. So that's what the consultancy does, and we do it in a form of training, workshops, support. But we also have a software business, which is Chameleon, which is a software solution which integrates into the business DNA. So Chameleon is about, I think somebody might have said it earlier, mental health is not always visible in the workplace. We come to work, we kind of present this aura that everything's fine. I'm gonna function at leadership level while having, high functioning anxiety, depression, all the issues that's going on in the background. So we don't really see it. We don't really know what's going on, and we can't manage that properly. The consultancy can't help to identify these things without being able to see it. So Chameleon turns all that information into visible data that the business can then start to manage. But while it's doing that, it presents back to each employee their own personal Chameleon. So I'll show you, Stephen, because I don't know. I'm going to do a Superman for you. This is not the full Monty, by the way. Just to, there we go. Oh, that side. So that's a Chameleon, and so each person gets their own personalized Chameleon. And the more you interact and care for your Chameleon, the more present and resourceful it is in presenting you with the right types of solutions to support your mental health. Fantastic. So it's kind of a comprehensive one-stop solution for workplace mental health.
Are we okay to keep talking, Graham, or have you sorted it? Or?
Yeah, no, actually, I have sorted it, but I'm fascinated by this, and actually, I've got to talk.
Carry on.
I want to talk to you at more length outside of today as well, Brett, because I've got to talk at a webinar later this month about mental health, so and mental health provision within the workplace as well. So that's really interesting. So is this in terms of the technology as well? It's computer based, but is it app based as well? And
yeah, it's both. It's web and app based. So essentially, most organizations at the moment approach workplace mental health in terms of the last stage of prevention, which is actually about preventing worsening of conditions. So Stephen
and
Graham,
they have an EAP program.
Yeah, you guys are experiencing distress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend you onto the EAP program. But by that stage, the potential that you've actually developed a mental health illness or at least experienced some form of mental health harm is high, because you wouldn't be accessing the program otherwise. No. So we're actually in the latter stages of prevention at that point. It's too late. So what we do with the business and the system is actually we work to identify those root causes. The system learns from it, becomes smarter, and starts to present the types of things that prevent the harm experience from ever happening to you. So the more data and more interaction you give your Chameleon, imagine you guys are old enough, a Tamagotchi or Tamagotchi.
Someone's just said that in the comments. Like a Tamagotchi for mental health. More you feed it, the more it evolves.
Feed it, care for it, do the right things for it. Yeah. It's not going to die a week later like the Tamagotchis always, or Gucci, whatever it is, did. Your Chameleon will start to get smarter, and it'll work with you to help you build the right types of well-being processes that keep you safe from the harm. But the business learns from that. So the business is starting to say, well, actually, it was this particular process or system we used that was causing high levels of stress in the workplace that created it in the first place. And we can manage that now because we know what it means. So
imagine if the banks have had that years ago when selling PPI.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
They would have soon given up on that as an idea.
You'll be getting phone calls in 3 years. Have you got your PPI Tamagotchi Chameleon protection in place? So, I mean, it's we are too easy to dismiss mental health as failure. You know, Graham's worked for this company for 20 years. He's worked hard. He's given everything he can for the business. Well, Graham's depressed. It's time Graham leaves the business. He's not going to be able to do what we need him to do. And then we consider it a failure on Graham's part. Well, you didn't look after yourself, Graham. Well, that's not strictly true. So it's not about failing, and we need to get over that hurdle where we think mental health is about failure. It's not about how hard you work, because even if you work really hard and you do all of the right things, you can still be impacted by emotional harm at work, emotional hazards. So we have to work at preventing those from happening.
And the sooner that two-way, I've just come out of another conversation about this, but the sooner that those two-way conversations happen, and for me, everything's about conversation and communication, right?
Yeah.
The sooner that they happen, the sooner you actually pick up on things, then the easier it is to deal with it. Obviously, without naming any names, but I worked in the workplace adjustment field for many years, and I think one of the most memorable cases that I worked on was for a very large organization, where by the time I was called in, and I was initially called in on an ergonomic side of things to try and help this guy, and they had tried everything under the sun, and it was this guy was having a lot of problems, physical problems manifest, but no one could put any sort of tangible root cause to it. And they literally tried chairs, they tried this, they tried the other, they tried work breaks, etc. And I spent a lot of time with him, and a lot of time just talking to him about life, inside work and outside work. And what I gleaned was that nobody had known. This guy used to turn up late for work regularly. He quite often looked disheveled. He didn't, you know, they were worried about the way that he was dressing and etc. Turns out he'd lost his home. He was homeless, and yet he was in a fairly senior position. You know, and the impact of that had on his mental health, and you know, then his physical health. But you know, there was a root cause, and until you can pick up on what the root cause is, all you're doing is just throwing stuff at something that's never going to stick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean I think that's a really good story, Graham, or recollection of exactly what it looks like, because you know, so many people experience problems at work. There are things that can be managed or improved or prevented that cause significant damage to them, that then cause them to either become physically or mentally ill, or at least go through an experience that reduces productivity, that causes lost work days. And these are all things that the business feel in terms of consequences, but because they don't recognize where those root causes are coming from, it just continues to hemorrhage. And you know, you see it in terms of increase in lost work days, 17.9 million for work-related stress, depression, and anxiety. That's the highest recordable lost workday rate for the UK from the HSE. It's not accidents, physical accidents, not physical illnesses. It's work-related stress, depression, and anxiety. So we are headed in a dangerous direction for not only individuals, but also businesses as well. We need a sustainable solution, much like, you know, in terms of the environment. We need something that works to sustain good mental health for everyone going to work, because otherwise you're going to have less and less people able to actually function in businesses.
Got a good comment coming in. You can communicate and converse, but if you have managers, superiors who are Neolithic in their mentality, you won't get the support you may need. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to know who LinkedIn user is, by the way. Sometimes it never shows up, but do let us know who you are.
Yeah, you have to go in your. I think you're somewhere in your profile in LinkedIn. You can go and change it. So I think there's a little box to check, and suddenly your name comes through. I'm interested, Brett. From what you said there, you gave an example, a fictitious example about Graham, who'd been with the business 20 years and he wouldn't be any good going forward. Has any study ever been done, or is there any data anywhere that says the length of time that an individual is at an organization as to when more of the mental health issues tend to occur? It might be that it isn't related, but I'm just interested. Does it tend to affect people who are maybe in their first 2 years at a business? Does it come later on? Just curious, really, as to whether it's ever been investigated.
Well, again, so the data varies because most organizations don't track mental health impacts in the same way that they do physical safety. So I could successfully track in, and I'll use oil and gas because that's where I came from, but I could successfully track physical accidents within the workplace because we record them, we investigate them, we look at root causes, we would provide data research to tell us how to prevent those reoccurring. So we do that for physical safety, but we don't really do that in terms of mental health. If you reported off work for a mental health issue that was caused at work, the likelihood is you will most likely just be moved on to the EAP program, but we won't investigate, track, or record it in the way we would physical safety. However, we've done a lot of work with the seafaring industry, maritime industry, and Nautical Institute, and what we have found is that actually you can see in trends in terms of ship deployment, so people leaving home and going off to work on a vessel for a period of time, it's normally about halfway through the trip that you see an increase in mental health impacts. So most people who will experience depressive thoughts or suicidal ideations, it tends to happen in and around that peak point. So it does give us an indication of the kind of flow in terms of terms for time elapsing to start to experience these things. But really, depending on what type of industry and how good that business is at protecting your mental health is a more likely determination factor to tell us. Because if I have a business that applies no preventative approaches for workplace mental health, the likelihood of more of my staff will be experiencing high exposure to it. Whereas if I do a lot of the good things, the likelihood is actually it won't matter when and where in the business, the time scale, because if I'm doing the right things, the likelihood of you experiencing it is massively reduced.
And these are all areas that businesses are going to have to start to look at, because you've got the great resignation going on at the moment. You know, for the future, and with young people coming out of university looking at where they want to work, we've kind of talked about it before, but they are going to look and go, actually, not just the wage, but is this company protecting a lifestyle that I want?
Yeah.
Is this company protecting my mental health? Are they protecting my physical health? You know, talked about it time and time again. You know, we should stop giving people champagne and chocolates on the first day that they arrive, right? Champagne and chocolates, lovely. It looks great. It looks great on a LinkedIn post. Look, I got champagne and chocolates. Wonderful, right? But that's going to last 5 minutes, right? Yeah. What that person really wants, what we really need to start seeing as an onboarding strategy for people coming into companies is, can we know a little bit more about them in terms of finance? Can we know, you know, do they have financial struggles? Is there anything we can help them with? You know, can we help them with any mental health issues that they've already got? Can we help them with any physical complications that they've already got? How can we enable? How can we actually get the best out of this person?
Yeah.
Right. So, and you know, most people, most companies, and I have to say it, have been there. Most people's induction is rubbish, absolute rubbish. Right? I nearly swore. It's that bad. Yeah, but it's that bad. You know, it's like, okay, we're doing your induction today. Jeremy, will you do his induction? Yeah, sure. Okay, I've got a tick sheet here. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, you're inducted now. Right? Okay, bye. You know, it's just, it's so unhuman. It's unreal. I spoke to someone in the middle of the pandemic who said that she'd gone to work for a new company in the middle of the pandemic, and she said it was something like 2 months in, and nobody from her management had bothered to even communicate with her.
I remember that. That was didn't that come up on one of the WoW sessions? I'm sure a lady dropped a message in, and we were like, "Really?
What?"
I mean, I think that's probably more common than uncommon. I you know, the truth is, if we want to keep working the way we do, the rate we do, the hours we do, the outputs that we expect of people, we have to have a sustainable solution for people. We cannot continue to impact people's experiences and well-being to the point where, as you rightly say, Graham, the big resignation, and there are more and more people now who say, well, I won't work for a company that doesn't look after me. I'm not prepared to go there. And you can't argue against that. What organization in the world has the right to break someone's mental health, throw them out the door and say, well, don't worry, you can now go spend the rest of your life getting counseling and treatment for the problem, and we're going to get somebody else to sit on the seat and just keep turning over. It's not sustainable, because there is clearly a recognition by the younger people coming through that mental health is far more important than simply a afterthought, which is currently what it's treated as in most workplaces.
Well, this is a great conversation, but we must play the game. If anybody would like to find out about getting their own little pet chameleon, make sure you connect with Brett, either on LinkedIn or are you on Twitter as well, or
yes, we're on Twitter.
He's on Twitter as well. So there you are. Connect with Brett and
Brett, what's your surname? Obviously we've got OSI and Chameleon there.
Of course, it's Townsley. Brett Townsley.
Brett Townsley.
That would have made far more sense than OSI Chameleon, but I wasn't 100% sure how this worked, so I was just like, but yeah, it's Townsley.
There you go. Right. Well, you'll know that again in a minute, because you've got to put your name in again. I've got it working. Okay. So I'm going to share screen. What's going to happen is up on the screen in a minute.
Yeah. There we go. Smartphones at the ready.
Yeah. You'll see this, and I'm going to do this. And there you go. At the left-hand side, if you could go on your browser on your phone to vvox.app, you should then get asked to put an ID in and your name. Please tell me that's worked.
I've just got join session.
Okay.
Hang on. Join session.
Oh, yeah. Enter
yes.
ID. 1, 2, 3.
I love Stephen's mutterings there. It actually tells everybody how to do it. So you get join session, and then you put It's fine. All right.
It's better than an instruction book. Just listen to me mutter
exactly. Imagine that for Monopoly. Oh, you part lane, buy a hotel, build a few houses, roll the dice, do not pass go. Has either of you ever played double Monopoly? Just out of interest.
No.
Okay. It's mental. It's where you put you get 2 Monopoly boards, and you put the 2 you do them as diagonals, and you put the 2 corners over each other, so you only have 1 jail.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you go all the way around in a figure of 8.
Oh, I was just thinking, figure. Oh, wow, okay.
It's really great. Takes forever. We used to play it as kids.
Okay.
Yeah, and we could be playing Monopoly all day. Very, very good. Right, we're going to start this session. So today, and Stephen will tell you about this afterwards. Today, the product that we're talking about. Let me just see if I can share it on the screen. Hold on 2 seconds. The product we're going to be talking about today is this one. Do you know what this is, Stephen?
CPU holder.
It's a CPU holder. There you go.
Stephen.
Do you remember CPUs, Brett?
No.
Right. Before everybody used a laptop, some people used a desktop computer.
Okay. Yep.
Right. And you know that big tower box thing that is the main part of the computer? That's called a CPU, central processing unit.
All right, okay.
I may have just given you a clue there. And that's what that is. It connects it to the desk.
I have to say that was not the product I would have thought you were choosing for today, Graham.
Well, there you go.
It's a curveball. This is anyone's game.
This is definitely anyone's game. Right. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. So you submit your answers and questions. If anyone else is playing, you can also like ones that other people have done. So the first question is, this is a CPU holder, but what does CPU stand for? I've just given you a clue with this. All right. Just thought I'd make it easy to begin with. So everyone was listening. Okay, everyone was listening. It is indeed a completely pointless umbrella. No, the correct answer is yes, central processing unit. Well done, everybody.
Right. We've got one right anyway.
Yeah, well, I thought that gives you a nice, good start to it. One of the benefits, according to the backer website of this product, is the PC remains are placed in a coffin. The PC remains unusable. The PC remains hidden under the desk, or the PC doesn't get nicked.
Got to be, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, you reckon? Okay, let's have a look. So. And the correct answer is, yeah, according to the website, PC remains hidden under the desk. But actually, funnily enough, less PCs will get nicked if they are connected.
They can't be
to
seen.
A CPU. Yeah, they can't be seen, and also it's quite difficult to just take it because you normally have to kind of unscrew it all in order to actually take it away. So it does actually benefit the that side of things as well. So the next one, this CPU holder is easy to assemble thanks to the, according to the website, easy to use instructions, the bag of parts, the swivel calibration system, or the ratchet control system.
Well, nothing is easy for me to assemble, so but I'll go with instructions because I'm hoping that would help.
The swivel calibration system. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. The correct answer, according to the backer website, is the ratchet control system.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
So it's got a ratchet control system, actually, Stephen.
Of course it has.
Yeah, of course it
must have pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. I guess there's some logic in that somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The CPU holder keeps the CPU off the floor, preventing damage due to the cleaning or something feet. Careless feet, smelly feet, large feet, stray feet, or hobbit feet.
Big Lord of the Rings fan, so I've got to go for it, right?
Large. Nice. Stray. Love it. Let's close the poll. Let's see what the right answer is. The right answer is stray. Have either of you got stray feet?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. Have your feet strayed recently?
Well, we're constantly in isolation, so I don't get to stay very far at all.
I was just hoping. I was hoping myself there for a minute. It was actually going to say Hobbit. It just be. I think you could get so many more views to the website, Stephen. You should tell your SEO team that if you put Hobbit in there instead.
Hobbit, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The website states that CPUs can inadvertently function as a doorstop, a computer, a hairdryer, a vacuum cleaner, or a laptop. A doorstop. Yeah.
Now I've got to put two choices in. Have you got to put two in, Brett?
No. Can you?
It says here, select up to two choices and press send.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'll start selecting a standby option then as well. Is it? Did the scores get tallied up at the end here?
Yeah. Well, we'll have a In fact, we'll have a look in a minute and see who's
I think
doing.
I'm definitely trailing behind.
Okay. Everyone's voted. I'll close the poll. Let's have a little look. The correct answers: vacuum cleaner.
What?
Vacuum cleaner. Yeah, according to your website, the website states that CPUs can inadvertently function as a vacuum cleaner. What it means by that is that the fan in the CPU, if it's on the floor, will actually pull up all of dust from the carpet, etc., and clog up the machine. So if you lift it off the floor with the CPU holder, it won't. See, keeps the back of the machine from
there you go
clogging up.
Forget your Dyson, get a CPU holder.
Yeah.
I think we've got an old one in the garage. That should sort out the house. No bother.
Oh, there you go. There you go. No need to go and buy a vacuum cleaner. Just get the old
Absolutely
CPU.
not.
The CPU holder can also help with heat dissipation, heat transfer, making cakes, or access to ports.
I'm going to think this one through. I rushed into the last one, so I'm going to, because the vacuum one's kind of made me think about it.
I mean, look, if it can vacuum the floor,
could it make
could it make cakes? I mean, there's a logic there.
There's definitely some sense of a semblance of logic in that.
Fantastic. Okay, both of you going for heat dissipation. We'll close that, and let's have a look at the correct answer. Is heat dissipation? Yeah, absolutely. CPUs can get very hot. Obviously, if they've got good circulation all the way around them. Yeah. Often people put them in places where under the desk, which where they get warm. I've actually, when I did workplace assessments, quite often I said, "Oh, I'm going to need to move that CPU because you can't actually stretch your legs out in front of you." And people went, "Oh, hang on a minute, that's keeping my legs warm."
Yeah,
yeah, but it's also getting really hot, and you can't actually sit properly because of where it is. So can be a massive problem. Now, it's Stephen's favourite. Stephen's favourite question, this, Brett, which is, what is the product code for the universal QC?
Are you the codes man, Stephen?
Well, no, because I got this one wrong last week. Not this question, obviously, it was a different question, but I got the code question wrong last week.
BNP sounds to me like it's a political party, so I'm gonna opt for something else.
Imagine. Okay. There's a lot of thinking going into this one.
Not for me.
a lot at stake, obviously. Okay.
A lot of thinking for Stephen.
It's allowing two choices again.
It's allowing two choices. Well, go for it. That's just to confuse you. Yeah, that's just to confuse you.
So I can get it wrong twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to go for those then.
Okay. All right. The correct answer is the top one. There you go. A QC. It's actually, when you think about it, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Yeah. They are CPU, QC. There you go. Let's just have a little look at the leaderboard so far. See where we're getting to. So we've got a definite first and a second. Stephen, you've got 3 out of 7. Brett, you've got 2 out of 7. You're in second place at the moment. Stephen, you're doing really well, sir.
How can I only have 3 out of 7?
I'm not impressed with that. It's 2 out of 7. Doesn't.
How many questions have we had?
That's the way it works. Oh. You've had 7 questions. You've got 3 right.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not impressive at all.
All right. Here we go. We'll carry on. Next poll.
Okay.
Stephen has often stopped at Fleet service station for a coffee. What city do Fleet Foxes herald from? Now, obviously, this has got nothing to do with the CPU holder, but every week we just throw in a slight curveball. Yeah, and obviously Brett is a huge Fleet Foxes fan.
Yeah,
he's got all of their albums, so
I got all the games.
Sorry, hang on. Are they a football team or a band?
They're a band, Fleet Foxes.
Just because I've seen what Brett's put, and I'm going to be different.
Okay, and the correct answer is Seattle.
Oh, nice one, Stephen.
Oh, you knew that because you were a connoisseur of Fleet Foxes, Stephen.
Massive fan. Massive fan. Yeah.
Massive. I knew it.
I'm often heard to say, Alexa, play Fleet Foxes.
Is it a boy band?
Maybe you will do that after this wow today. What is the width of the universal QC? You'll be pleased to know we're getting near the end of this now.
I think a lot of people are.
I'm sure a lot of people are.
Again, I looked up and saw what Brett had put, so I'm going with something different just to keep it interesting.
Okay, let's
because I'm convinced last week that Mr. Sherryard was following my answers to block me. He got ahead, and then to keep himself ahead, he just kept following my answer.
He did.
Oh,
he did.
Tactics involved, was there?
Yeah. Like any game, you can play to tactics.
More tactical.
Now, look, 1 millimeter between the two of you here. So I mean, it's literally knife edge stuff, and the correct answer is 223. Whose was that?
That was the Fleetwood Fox himself, me.
Well, there you go. And is that it? Oh, yes, that's it. Well done. So I think we should have a winner. Let's have a little look.
I think Stephen destroyed me, to be honest.
Oh,
4 out of 9. Wow.
Just about managed it there, Stephen. There you go.
Good work, Stephen. You
absolutely redeemed yourself. Oh,
that was
what a great game it is.
It is a great game.
Yeah, it was actually good fun. That
yeah. So there's a point.
I was just going to say, subject matter was it left a lot to be desired, but the quiz itself was really good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Just so that Brett knows and the rest of the universe know, what is a CPU holder then? I mean, clearly
to be honest, Graham, I'm going to paraphrase you because you answered that question as you went along. So I guess ultimately, if we go old school with an old style computer before laptops, the idea is to try and maximize. Thank you. Is to maximize the space on your desk. So therefore, rather than having it standing in one of the corners of your desk, you would then attach it underneath the desk, removing it out of the way. And therefore, what that allowed you to do is maximize the desk space. And then you could fill your desk with lots of nice Backer Elkhausen accessories to make your life easier, such as nice document slopes and keyboards and more space to move your mice, etc., etc. So would you say that's a fair summary, Graham?
Yeah,
maximizing desk space.
As a workplace assessor, we did recommend CPU holders when CPU was still very, very common, when desktop computers were common, and they still are in a lot of large organizations. We would recommend a CPU holder more often than not. One of the reasons, as I said to you, is that exactly what Stephen is saying, that actually you'd have a CPU holder, a CPU on the desk. It would actually then affect where the monitor is, because the monitor would be placed at an angle in order to accommodate the CPU. And then actually you found that someone's sitting at a twist all day long and actually therefore twisting their spine in order to sit. I mean, it's one of the big misconceptions that most people have in a workplace is that what they're given in terms of working environment is what they have to live with.
Yeah.
Right. And so rather than, it's a little bit like your app, really, rather than actually going, well, look, what's in front of me here isn't actually what I need. And if I can just talk to you about this a minute, maybe we can make some adjustments and start making this right. Yeah. People just go, oh, right, I've come into work. This is my desk. This is how it's set up. This is how my chair is. That's where the monitor is. That's where this is how I'm going to work. And then they sit and they work like that for hours and hours on end. And then they go, and I used to go into people. It was like a magic trick. I used to go in and see people, and before I'd even talk to them, I'd go, "You've got pain in your left shoulder," and they'd go, "How do you know that?" I can also tell you've got pain in your right buttock. How do you know that? And you could just see it by the way that if you've been doing it for years, you could just see it by the way their workstation's set up. You knew exactly how they were sitting for long periods, and you knew what that would cause. And that's frightening, isn't it? Because actually, if you can get to the point where you can actually analyze it just with your eyes like that and go, right, I know that person's in pain, then someone should have been doing the complete opposite of that. They should have been preventatively looking at it and going, right, let's have a dialogue here, shall we? Perhaps we should change the way that you're working.
I mean, it's essentially what we're doing for a different subject. People living in circumstances or conditions or experiences that they don't have to, because they think it's what you've got to do within the workplace, when it's not. These things should be looked at and prevented so that harm isn't created, whether it's physical or mental. So yeah, absolutely, Graham. I think that makes perfect sense. And I think if I look back on some of my early days when I first left the forces and went into, working on Civvy Street, I went into offices and just kind of accepted this is the layout, that's how I have to work, and bent my body to accommodate the surroundings rather than rearrange the surroundings to accommodate me.
Yeah. And what I'd really like to see, my great mission in life, is I'd really like to see some of the experts in these fields coming together. And that's what we started off with the event that started sort of 18 months ago, and that's moving into something else now. But the whole point of that was, I do think that sometimes people work that the support systems also work in silos, and I really would like, for example, if there's any ergonomics people watching this over the period of the next week or whatever while it's on, I'd really like you to talk to people like Brett. Brett, I'd really like you to talk to them, right? Because actually, when we stop working in those silos, and we can start to understand where else we can signpost people to outside of our own specialisms, then we can really help people, right? So if you've got someone that's got a great solution for mental health, work with ergonomists, work with people that have got a great solution for mental health. Be able to bring people in and go, do you know what? Okay. With ergonomics, it's a really good one as well, because quite often people that go in to do workplace assessments are the first port of call, because companies fight fires first rather than be proactive first.
Yeah.
And absolutely. so often within this industry, the ergonomics industry, what happens is someone gets called in because someone's got a bad shoulder, and it's like, okay, well, that's not going to be too expensive. I don't think we can actually buy something physical that probably can sort that out. But actually, if we start training the people that are doing those assessments to understand the breadth of what's available and what might be causing the problems beyond the physical, then actually we can really start to make an absolute difference, because we can then go in and say, okay, yeah, they've got a bad shoulder, but I also picked up whilst I was there that they're struggling a little bit. Yeah. And maybe, Mr. Organisation, what you actually need is to start looking at your people from that perspective as well. Yeah. And then you're there,
I think you're absolutely right, Graham. We collaborate with lots of different well-being, life coaching, health, safety organizations and people who do fantastic things. And I think, I've got a little girl. She's 4 years old. My goal, much like yours, is to make it a safe place for her. I don't want her to enter into her career, her work career, and actually it still be acceptable to hurt people with through mental health distress. I want that to be managed properly, so by the time she gets into work, she can have a long, successful career doing what she wants to do safely. So if we can collaborate or work with other organizations to make that happen, I'm fully on board with it.
Absolutely. I mean, Stephanie that was applauding you there, Stephen, I know her organization works a lot within the construction industry.
Yeah.
It has its own. I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth and say that's what I'm thinking, but it's a sector that has a particular culture, shall we say, and potentially does need the likes of Brett to come into, because men talking to men about problems, or men even if it's there's a lot of women in that sector now, but it's a very male, orientated culture still, and that needs breaking down as well. Need to feminize the construction culture, but also we actually need men to be able to speak about mental health within that culture as well.
I think it's like you said at the start, everybody has their own challenges, and can we take them on? Every organization, every culture, every industry has those challenges in a variety of different shapes and sizes. Is that business, is that industry willing to take that challenge on and make a difference? And that's the blood, sweat, and tears bit. We're going to have to go through that to make it happen. But if you're willing to take that on, then Camellia and OSI are willing to kind of go on that journey with anyone.
Brett, is there any particular industry sector? And again, maybe there isn't the research that's in place, but even anecdotally, is there any particular sector of the economy where the biggest challenges are? If you were to rank, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3, which areas seem, on what you hear and see and where you're involved, have the biggest issues around mental health?
Yeah, well, so I mean, we work primarily at the moment. Our biggest clients, sort of without disclosing names, are in the oil and gas sector, the energy industry. So we do see a lot of challenge in the energy sector because, again,
is that purely with people being away from home for long periods of time?
So there's that element to it. There's the fact that you're away, you have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, some places, traveling abroad. All of these varieties are being isolated or removed from the normal well-being supports that would be in place. But on top of that, there's also issues in and around the culture as well, in terms of it's a very very masculine ideology. Sometimes people believe it's about toughing things out rather than saying, actually, this is impacting me and I need to get proper support for this. So there's challenges in and around that, the cultural side of it as well. But then on the flip side, we work with a lot of schools, and we work with schools down in your area. We work with some private schools down in Essex and across the border in England. And we see issues there in terms of the school children having difficulty with social media pressures. Again, teachers finding it difficult to balance their work lives in between essentially managing or dealing with 30 children, 40 children at a time, and then shutting off and returning back to their home life. So the pressures and stressors tend to vary depending on the types of industries. But the things that don't change are the outcomes. You're impacted by a particular type of mental health distress. It affects you. You either experience it in a short term and you're able to move on from that experience, or it's got a longer lasting effect, which leads to either a mental health condition, a period of time where you experience it, all of the signs and symptoms of a mental health illness, but in a short condensed period, and you come out of that the other side, or you enter into a mental health illness, you become ill with it, and it can lead to physical illnesses as well. So the outcomes are limited. Where do you go with it? I experience it, it's over. I experience it for a longer period of time, and it affects me for a period, or it turns into an illness. So, we know these are the likelihood of what's going to happen. It's the further back bit that we need to get to. So if I had you guys working for me, and I know that my business creates mental health, emotional hazards at work, things that will impact you, I can't remove those emotional hazards because it's part of the business, it's part of what we do. So therefore, what I need to do now is build you guys up to be able to deal with it. So now we've shifted to well-being, and unfortunately, well-being is where most businesses tend to start. It's about how you guys cope with it. Are you doing the right things? Here's how to eat right, exercise, sleep. But actually, that's a secondary consideration. Have I done everything in the business to remove those things before you need to rely on your well-being to prevent the harm? So we need to start thinking about it more strategically. But each industry we've worked with has their own particular set of stressors, issues, mental health, emotional hazards. But it's actually about identifying all those cultural barriers within the industry or business to help remove them. Hopefully that answers it, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that more than does. Brett, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. We're obviously keep in touch, and and as I say, I do want to talk to you a bit more because I've got another webinar coming up that I need your help with. So,
sure. It's been a pleasure for me, guys. It's great to meet you, Stephen.
Yeah, you too, Brett. Thank you.
Great to finally see you in person, Graham, as well. So thanks very much for having me on.
No problem at all. Thank you for
Cheers,
coming,
Brett.
and we'll
Cheers,
speak to
guys.
you sometime soon. Bye for now.
All right, cheers,
Bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Wow,
Right.
brilliant. Wow, yeah, as you say, yeah, heavy subject, but such an important one, especially at this time of year.
Definitely.
And I'm glad we covered CPU holders, right? I mean, there you go.
Yeah. Wow, you stretched us there. 4 out of 9 felt pretty good, to be honest. After with that subject,
I think so. I think one of the interesting things, and let's be fair to you on that with CPUs, is that there has been a big shift. Although it is still products in your portfolio, etc., and it is still needed, there are people that still need it. Most people now are working off of a laptop.
Absolutely. As you say, it's a product that from an ergonomic perspective, we absolutely sits nicely in our portfolio, but actually on a day-to-day basis, it's not something that we're ever really asked about. To be honest, it will probably more of a project piece. If people are doing something to an office that has CPUs, you'd look at it, but you wouldn't find generally those inquiries coming through on a regular basis for that product. But yeah, it's something that, again, people may not be aware that product actually exists. So if we can, enlighten 1 or 2 people and benefit them, great, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I was doing some research yesterday, and I was looking on Statista at the increase year on year of laptop sales across Europe, and it's something like 8% increase year on year. So by somewhere in the region of by next year, there will be sales of 380 billion pounds worth of laptops sold across Europe in people's homes.
It's huge.
It's just mental, right? And actually, what that tells you, if you break it down into demographics as well, is that there will still be homes without laptops, unfortunately. But it does actually mean that many homes will have multiple laptops.
We have 4.
So isn't that weird, right? You think about it. Years ago, it's like if you had a laptop, it was like, I've got a laptop. It was the expensive computer. Do you remember? It was like, if you bought a laptop, it was the very expensive version of a computer. So you only bought it if you really needed it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, I've got 4 in my house.
But I think that came because of the whole lockdown piece, that people had to go, because of homeschooling, you had to go and invest where you needed to in extra laptops, didn't you?
Yes, that, and I just think people are investing in them full stop as a way of, not just from the homeschooling point of view. Look how many people have become self-employed.
Yeah.
Over the period as well.
VAs, that's just gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Yeah. Anybody, and all of those people, what do they need? They need a decent working machine and that they can work from home. So laptops. So to be fair, less people buying CPU holders. But if you're still there, if you do find yourself in a situation where you've still got a tower unit on your desk or whatever, and it's making you work twisted or or it's under the desk but on the floor, and it's actually causing you to not to sit properly or be able to get your legs out properly. Get it up. Get it raised on the desk. CPU holder. Here you go. It's one of those things. Well, that's it. That's an hour today. Just gone like that. Another guest next week.
We didn't have to draw on our backup list of subjects, did we, Graham? We can keep them fresh for next time.
It didn't. No, I'm glad we covered that subject in some detail. I think that's it's brilliant, and I really do hope we start to get that message through as well to the profession, which is that if you are, if that's the one thing I would really want is if someone's coming through now as a someone studying ergonomics and they're going out to do workplace assessments, continue to expand your knowledge beyond just ergonomics. Right, because yes, you can go and do those ergonomic assessments for people, but if you can start to understand where the holistic support of someone fits in within other areas, even if you don't specialize in it, but if you can understand where to bring other support in for people, I think it makes what you do much more valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there we go. We'll leave it at that. Oh, last one just before we go. Did you see my interview yesterday?
No, but I have got it to watch back. Don't worry. I heard it was a good one. Yeah, I will do.
It was tremendous. Obviously, I've been waiting for that interview. I have actually been waiting for that interview for about 7 months, believe it or not. It's taken that long for us to that's what I started saying at the beginning of the interview. It's her schedule, my schedule. You know, she's busy recording. She's been busy recording 2 albums. She's written a book, you know, etc. She's a busy lady. But yeah, managed to get her pinned down for half an hour, and it's a really great chat. And she says some great things about society, and all of this and where we're going. So it's a good listen. Do listen to that. Whether you like music or not, you'll get something out of that interview. See you again next week. I think we're returning to our normal time.
Yeah, Wednesday next week.
Next week. Watch out in the future. We will be announcing sometime soon something as an extension from the live.
Yeah,
something that you can get involved with, and also next week. Here's a biggie. Next week we are going to play the game later on.
Okay.
Right. And there will be a prize. So if you do join in next week and you win, there will be a prize for the winner.
And the bar is pretty low, so you should be able to come on and win.
Look, you know, I'm picking products that nobody knows about. Yeah. So it's, you know, and the random questions are random. Yeah. You know, so in fact, if we find that it's too easy for Stephen, we'll just make it harder. Okay. Yeah. So it's anybody's game. Do if you watch this back on the replay and think, yes, next week I'm going to take part, I might win myself something. Do next week join him, and we'll see you there. Bye for now.
Bye.